Nuanced Beauty is a podcast where we try to tease out the complexity, or as I say, the nuance, in any given topic so that we can acknowledge the tension there and hold space to see the beauty in it, the beauty in ourselves and the beauty in others and relationships. It's not easy seeing beyond our own opinions, but there's wisdom in the pursuit. So join us. Hi guys, welcome back to Nuanced Beauty.
Hey everybody. So I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about on our podcast this week. So I sought inspiration where I frequently seek inspiration. I'm talking, of course, about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, if you don't follow football, has been sidelined for much of this year. He, in the third or fourth play of the season, tore his Achilles. Ouch. It was one of my terrors in life, is tearing my Achilles. And this should have been a season-ending injury. Probably still will be. But he went on, I don't know, might have been McAfee, might have been somewhere else, and talked about manifesting health.
Yeah, which has been, you love Aaron Rodgers and got to give him credit where credit's due. That said, the topic has been hot and trendy for a while now.
Oh, yeah, he's not
original.
But he's learned. But it got met with a lot of criticism. A lot of this is just more woo-woo Aaron Rodgers garbage. And when you start using a word like manifesting, it sounds like woo-woo garbage. But I think there's actually a lot more to it. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a fan, although I am. But it reminds me of just the power that we do have in declarative statements.
Yeah.
I had a student, it reminded me of, that wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, let's say. And that didn't matter. I was teaching at a community college. I wasn't there to teach the academically successful. I was at a trade school. I was trying to meet people where they were at and teach them up to a trade that they can support themselves. It was never a problem that he was not academically gifted.
Like intellectually book smart.
Yeah, he wasn't book smart. But that wasn't the problem. I was there to help exactly this guy. My issue with him was that he got really down on himself all the time, and he would tell me about how stupid he was. And finally, I had to cut him off short, and I said, "Hey, buddy, if you keep telling people you're dumb, people are going to start believing you." And I was putting it in that third person, because I wanted him to be successful in the workplace, but also he believed it. And he believed it because he kept saying it. And just because he wasn't super sharp doesn't mean he was as stupid as he thought he was.
Right. But he was taking this statement and attaching it too much to his identity.
He's creating an identity. That's exactly right. Because when you make a declarative statement, I am dumb, you are creating something that's true, something that becomes true because you said it. You identified that in that way.
Right. And that's where like the complexity of it comes in, because you can make a declarative statement for the worse. I'm an alcoholic. I am dumb. I can't help myself. I'm fat. I've always been fat. It's just the way I am. Or you could make it for the positive, which is where I think the manifestation buzz is all a flutter.
It's hot in like the boss babe influencer social media. You have to just manifest success.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that they're taking something that is true,
mm-hmm.
but they're saying you just have to like keep saying that you're wealthy and then you're just going to be wealthy. And the problem is there is power, maybe not that much. But if you say I'm going to be successful, you are going to find. You
may intentionally take steps.
The red car thing. If
what
you are thinking about buying a red car.
Oh, and then all you see is red cars.
All you see is red cars. If you are thinking or stating you're going to have an opportunity, you're going to find that opportunity.
You're going to see in the perspective that allows for an opportunity.
So the entree leadership, #boss babe, whatever, influencer is saying something that is true, but I don't think it's being heard in the spiritual sense that it actually is.
Or you mean maybe the motivation for doing it is different?
Yeah, well, it's not about the motivation. Yeah, I guess it is
the
motivation. My point, though, is that the problem I have with how this phrasing is used in a pop culture sense is the same issue I have when people say, well, I prayed for $1 million and I didn't get it. So prayer obviously doesn't work.
So therefore it's null and void.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so when you set, expectations that you have the power to do a thing,
Without.
there is power,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean you just get to
And there's still boundaries,
There's still
limitations.
boundaries and limitations to it. Yeah, which is why when Aaron Rodgers says, I'm going to manifest my Achilles to knit together faster, there's probably some truth to that.
So yeah,
There is
there
truth
is
to that.
one of
He's
the
not playing next week though.
one of the I've watched a holistic type naturopathic, video that shared so many fascinating things about people in their mind actually promoting healing of their body. And it makes perfect sense because our mind is part of our body, like we're integral. It's not separate. But it came up there was a particular study that they noted, and forgive me, I don't have the study, about people who worked out. Like they had three groups. They had people who actually did the workout plan. They had people who envisioned doing the workout plan, and then they had people who didn't do a workout plan. And the team that envisioned doing a workout plan actually did reap some physical benefits to envisioning that they did their workouts.
Yeah, that gets supported in the like pedagogy literature as
And
well.
it goes into the placebo effect.
Goes
It's
into
kind of
placebo
that
effect.
that thing.
That's what they're like. Oh, that's just a placebo effect. Well, so it worked.
Exactly.
Who cares what effect it was?
So there's a power in it, and it did actually have a tangible, measurable response, like
That's
manifestation.
something I learned about when I was teaching, because one of the books I read called Making It Stick talked about doing mental reps of a task.
Okay.
Picturing yourself going through the steps of a task has a measurable effect similar to actually practicing the task.
Yeah, and I think when I was trying to run the PRT senior year to graduate, because when I walked across the stage, I didn't have a diploma because I didn't pass the physical yet because I suck at running. And there I am making a tangible statement about myself. But I do it anyways because I don't always have to suck at running. So there, I'll backtrack on my statement.
And this isn't to say that if you said you're awesome at running, you would immediately run a 6-minute mile.
Exactly.
But you're definitely limiting your growth by continuing to make this statement.
Yeah. So I did try to do like a mental exercise of envisioning myself running and meeting the time that I needed to meet and like feeling good and blah, blah, blah. Like tried to put myself in that like forecasting it.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're unlocking the potential that you already had. A lot of the physical limitations we have are your CNS stopping yourself from doing things. That's why you see like moms.
CNS is central nervous system.
Right.
Okay, got it.
That's why you get like stories of moms lifting cars off of babies.
Yes.
Because like you do have the strength, but your body,
the muscles, things step in and don't allow you.
Your nervous system will prevent you from hurting yourself. And if you have this negative view, your body's protecting you from hurting yourself, or thinks it is because you're making this negative statement.
Yeah.
Which again isn't to say that I can go bench 350, but let's say I could bench 225. But I'm go up to the bar thinking I can't do this. We're probably gonna fail.
Yeah. If you think you can, you can.
And
if you think you can't, you can't.
You're right.
Yeah.
Which again is one of those things that like
it's borderline.
When you couch,
it's squishy and partly good.
When you couch what I think are inherently spiritual viewpoints in corporate buzz phrasing, you completely rob it of any depth, and any ability to reach somebody on a heart level.
Yeah.
Because that just sounds so cheesy, and it's like, oh, you're right, but you're just kind of weird. Just be less weird. And then you might actually get somewhere. There's Be Here Now logos all over my company, and as someone who read Be Here Now and feel like it's a deeply spiritual phrase, it really drives me nuts.
Yeah, because it just comes across as shallow, like I don't know, but then I don't know. Yeah, okay.
It's almost like when you put it that way, everything needs to end with a comma, bro. Be here now, bro.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like this corporate bro culture to it.
So with manifestation, pulling it back to that because we were kind of going
Yeah,
off the deep end
right.
there.
So you were talking about the placebo effect, and you also, I don't know if this was in the documentary or book, we're talking about when you give cancer patients certain number of months to live.
Yes,
Yeah.
and potentially, yeah, that was specifically the placebo nocebo. It came
Mm-hmm.
up on a ancient health podcast by Dr. X and his team, and yeah, they talked about how a patient was given this many months to live and had some sort of tumor and such, but after the biopsy, the tumor was actually, it was non-cancerous, or it was not,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the clear connection to why his life ended when it did. And I think that there are so many examples of people from a medical perspective who could step into a doctor's office and the doctor can provide you with stats. They can provide you with stats,
Mm-hmm.
and to give them full authority over the outcome, and especially because it's in the future, is not great.
Yeah.
There's a limitation there, and
You trust the guy in the white lab coat, and when the
uh-huh.
guy in the white lab coat says you have 6 months to live, you believe that you have 6 months to live. This was in Misreading Scripture Through Western Eyes as well,
Okay.
where people will kind of die on that date because they believe
Yes.
that they're going to,
Yeah.
and you kind of manifest this in your body in that way.
It's
like
crazy.
like you're no longer listening to your body, and your body's no longer trying. You have an enormous amount of power over yourself if you can access it. um and so I'm not saying that people won't die if they don't think they're going to.
Exactly.
Again, there's
Yeah.
limits to power,
Uh-huh.
which is where, and we can get a bit spiritual and a bit specifically Christian
And
here.
maybe that's where it doesn't hit the nail on the head, because the manifestation is potentially in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and it is usually super individualized, so it's self-focused.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, there are limitations to yourself, and you actually, like, you can't predict the future per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then of course that if you bring in the Christian view of
and
things,
and
it's
and not just
slightly
Christian. I'm going to start there, but then expand on it a little bit. Where if you read the creation account in Christian scripture, God creates creation
uh-huh.
with a series of declarative statements.
Yeah.
Let there be light. Let there be. I feel like I should know these
Separate the
things.
land from the
Yeah, but
sea.
it's a lot of let there be statements.
Uh-huh.
He's making these declarations, and that is how the earth came to be
And
in the
let us
Christian
make
tradition.
man, and
Now,
uh-huh.
reading through scripture, it never describes what God looks like precisely. It never says, "Oh yeah, this guy is just like 6'2". He has he's actually not a white beard, it's more salt and pepper. Like he's old, but still kind of virile, and he has these blue eyes like the sun after a
There
rainstorm."
is
It's
this
not,
like
but it is a series of what the kingdom is like, what God is like.
mhm.
There's you could say that all of scripture is describing what creation or what God is like. And if you look at the creation account, what he's saying is the way the universe works, what the universe is like these how these statements have this power. The problem is we're not God.
Yeah.
And that's where we're limited. But we were created in the image of God.
Uh-huh.
And if you go into more Eastern religions, you'd say that we are not creation, we are part of creation. And we're all interconnected in this way. We do have access to this power because
Mhm.
we are all one. We're all created in this one place.
Yeah.
But how enlightened are you? How much I talked about being able to tap into the power that you have over your body. How connected are you in that spiritual sense?
Uh-huh.
Uh, so we're limited, which is why we can't just like pray for all the wealth and expect it. That's where the prosperity gospel completely falls apart, because we're not actually God.
Yeah.
The best you could say is that we're a fragment thereof,
Mhm.
or we're in connection
We're an
with,
image.
or an image. But that isn't to say that what we say doesn't matter, because what we say matters so much.
Uh-huh.
And even if you take the spirituality completely out of it, when you make a statement out loud and that statement is heard by another person, you are affecting that person. We see that with our kids.
Yeah.
And this is true for anyone you ever talk to, but especially with kids. When you say something like "you are a bad kid,"
or you're pretty. Like, this is the one that's, like, controversial, like, "Oh, why's the girl gotta be pretty?" But, like, you are pretty, or you are smart,
You are
or you are
creating,
dumb, or you are so
you are
athletic.
casting the person in a role that person now has to fulfill.
Uh-huh.
And so when you say you're a bad kid, now the kid is like, oh, I guess I am a bad kid. And I'm going to act accordingly in this drama that we are going to watch unfold.
Because here's how I'm perceived. It just, yeah, it takes root.
It
It
creates an
it
identity.
in
You
their
can
soul.
affect the identity of another person
Uh-huh.
by making a declarative statement about that person.
Yeah, and so that reminds me of a really cool practice that I think, it's a Priscilla Shire thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Christian-wise. Um, like, before her kids leave for school or on the drive to school or walking to the door, like, um, reading the traits like, geez, like,
The
put
fruits of
on
the
the
spirit.
armor of God, like, you have
Mm-hmm.
the ability, like, you are brave, like, and, like, putting those, and even, oh my gosh, I don't think you were with us, but
Mm-hmm.
when Zeke and I walked over for a play date yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have to ask him, but he made like a list of statements like, I am strong, I am brave, I am something. And we have a book upstairs called The Marvelous or The Magic of Me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, were you reading that book recently? And he said, no, no, we do that at school or something.
Yeah.
So they're listing through positive,
Yeah.
good, honoring traits that
Uh-huh.
we want to embody.
It's you is smart. You is kind.
It
Like
is an I am kind. Yeah, that's in there too.
this idea of positive self affirmations is a tale as old as time
Uh-huh.
because it is the way in which we're created.
Okay.
Like you need to, there is a, you can speak things into existence to an extent, but to what extent? I don't know.
And then the other angle that I would put out there is you can like kind of speak things into exist in a way. Like I can't say let there be bread and bread's going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever. But
And you
um
can, because I'll probably go bake
you
something.
could go bake some. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could whatever. But what I was getting at is is it more important to manifest an outcome, or is it more important the process that got you there and the making of you in the process? So the beauty part of manifestation and that idea is that, as we've said, your mind is interwoven with your body and there is goodness in that.
Mm-hmm.
But are we just looking for that outcome, or is there the be here now part
Mm-hmm.
that I don't want to just, oh, I want $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was the making of me that got me to the
Yeah.
goal?
Yeah, that's the way that Ram Dass words things like that. It's, I could meditate my way, or to put it in Christian parlance, pray my way to $1 million. But by the time I got sufficiently enlightened or sufficiently connected to God to do exactly that, I would have to become the person that no longer needs that.
Yeah.
And Paul writes, you can have faith to move mountains. But by the time you establish such a connection to God that you could move those mountains, you would understand God well enough to understand why the mountains were there to begin with,
Uh-huh.
and you probably wouldn't move the mountains.
Yeah.
So, all that's to say, you do have enormous power that you can wield over yourself and the world around you. And I don't know how much power that is. And that's where the nuance comes in. Like, can you really do this? Well, does it matter? Doesn't matter how, like, okay, I can brighten someone's day, but only a little bit. So it doesn't matter, right? That's
Mhm.
not, so I think that it's just relevant to, uh, it's relevant to wield the power you have wisely.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And then with regards to manifestation, which is focused on your words in a
You can
way.
giggle at Aaron Rodgers if you want, but he has a point.
Yeah. No, yeah, I could see his point. You made me lose my train of thought there.
I frequently lose my train of thought looking into those deep blue eyes.
Oh,
Not
goodness.
yours, talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. Because 'cause I'm a hazel-eyed.
Depends on the
Um,
lighting.
yeah, it depends on the lighting. Okay, manifestation. Yes.
Manifestation.
Check, check.
Manifest an end to this podcast.
What?
To manifest an end to this podcast.
Oh my gosh. I can't even envision that now. I guess, there you have it, guys. Manifestation, it can be a power used for good, and it has limitations,
Mhm.
and, how you're wielding your power and, if it's a selfish motive or it's a whatever,
Mhm.
that all matters. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the spirit of nuance, I hope you found something that you could agree with and disagree with and still choose to lean in. If you're liking the show, please follow us and share it with friends and leave a rating and review. Until next time.